You feel like you don't matter, feel like your life doesn't matter, get involved.
It's hard to fathom, isn't it, sir, that in today's world, in today's country, we have Māori hapu mama who are individualised, demonised, and their babies are taken without notification, without no due good cause, and they cannot get them back.
Indeed, we have heard much that has astonished us, and we're only partway through our inquiry. So, just a couple more questions. You mentioned 94% of the workforce was predominantly
Yes.
non-Māori,
Yep.
middle class, and largely female. So that
Yep.
workforce you're referring to is what part of the health workforce? The nurses and midwives, or the total?
All of them, from the top managers through the first, second tier level managers, through the planning and funding managers, through to the staff of maternity managers on the wards, right through to the nurses, the women on the ground, the social workers, the domestics. They have the whole lot.
All right, so
I've got a copy of the workforce employer. I will give that to him.
that would be helpful. Thank you, because
Yes,
we've seen various statistics about
yes.
workforce, but that would be helpful to have an overview of that. Are you talking nationwide? That's
Yes,
not just this.
nationwide.
Right, okay.
Can I tell you why that is? You probably don't want to know, but I'll tell you why. Because you need NCE level 7 or 6 to get into those programs, nursing midwifery. 84% of Māori do not attain NCE level 6 or 7. Therefore, the education system in this country is for the rich and the privileged. Māori who do not have the funding and the money to be able to delegate themselves to that area cannot afford to do so.
Right. And there are many questions I could, but I'll just leave one more. In your brief about when you mentioned the Facebook page and that you
Yes.
very quickly had 6,000
Yes.
posts or thereabouts, and
Yes.
when you were speaking you said 12,000.
Today there's 12.
So from last year to this it's now
Yes.
12,000.
Yeah.
And I know you've said that you've received literally hundreds of, or could be thousands of examples of the kind of situation you've described, a few
Yes.
examples you've given us in your brief. Since the middle of last year, are you able to give a rough approximation of how many notices you've received from whānau who've been affected badly by their treatment by Oranga Tamariki or other state agencies?
I would believe that 70% of the people on the Facebook page are actually family members, women and victims of Oranga Tamariki.
Right.
We have a number of professionals who are on there who help. They are lawyers and they are kaiawhina and support people who give of their time to voluntary
Right.
time to assist. And there are connections between whānau who are seeking help. The majority of those on the Facebook page have nowhere else to go.
Right.
There is nowhere for them to go.
So, from what you have seen, particularly
Yes.
since there's been a lot of publicity about the
Yes.
issue, the scale of the problem nationwide, or the scale of the maimai is very high, like large
Yes.
numbers, well over the hundreds.
It's thousands. 4,360 babies under the age of 1 were taken by Oranga Tamariki between 2009 and today. 4,360 babies and newborns. Those numbers are appalling. I've got the stats on that. I'll give that to you.
We've got a number of the big picture stats.
Yes.
But, all right. Finally, at the very end of your brief, you
Yes.
talk about this issue of what you've been, the publicity, and I just wondered what your view was on some form of independent oversight or complaint procedure.
Yes, sir, I've been visited by a gentleman by the name of Glenn Johnson, who's been appointed as the independent monitoring organisation. We have an independent also in the Peter Boschia. Sir, my understanding is it doesn't matter how many independent inquiries we have, unless we get the treaty constituted into law, we will just continue to keep having inquiries and continue to keep having discussions about what Pākehā are doing to Māori and why they are doing it. We just need to stop it, sir.
Right. Thank you. Ms. Cassidy, do you have questions? How many minutes do you think? All right. I'm just checking on
Time.
We're a little bit behind time, Ms. TeHuia's, but
sorry.
what I'll do is I'll come to Council assisting, Ms. Cassidy, who has a few questions.
Yes.
Then Crown Council will probably take a break at that point
Yes.
and come back for any questions you may have. Come on.
No questions at the moment, sir, on this.
All right, cool. So we'll finish with Ms. Cassidy's questions at this point. Thank you.
Okay.
Tēnā koe, Ms. TeHuia.
Kia ora.
Te tuatahi mā koe mihi atu kia koe. Mō tō maiatanga, tō kaha,
Kia ora.
I roto I ngā tau, tata ki te toru te kautau kua pahure. Kia kaha koe, kia maia, kia manawa nui. I want to follow up, Ms. TeHuia, on a question that was put to you by Professor Rawinia Higgin, and that was the example that you gave when the baby was removed from the mother without her knowing. And you said that the baby stayed in hospital
Yes.
for 3 more days,
For 2 weeks.
for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And during the time that mother was in hospital, she wasn't able to breastfeed baby.
No. No.
And you talked about not being involved in the safety care plan for baby. Is that is that something that usually happens for non-Māori midwives as well, and that they're not involved in those care plans as well?
I'm sorry I can't speak on behalf of Pākehā midwives because I don't know their practice. I do confer that Māori midwives find that they are often left out of discussions about the mama, and often they are struggling to get the most up-to-date care plan, and so they try as they must to continue to care for the mother and the baby as best that they can outside of that notification world.
Okay, you talked about you asked the DHB for their policy on uplifts.
Yes.
Can I ask, did you ever receive
No.
anything in writing?
No.
Do they have such a policy?
I think that I did see something similar last year or the year last year where they have attempted to justify why they're doing what they do. I would criticise the manner in which they create their policies because they don't include Māori in developing those policies, and so they usually come from a one-sided view about justification for why they're doing what they do, rather than look at a way of supporting whānau and hapu mama to have a safe delivery.
I just want to move to the statistics you gave about the 5 institutions within
Yes.
Aotearoa, and
Yeah.
you talked about one where 1,273
Yeah.
failed,
Yes.
Māori.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a pretty appalling
huge.
and dismal
Yeah.
statistic. So what has been done by that institution to actually support Māori coming in? Have there been any changes made?
Well, I believe that there has been some funding in the realms of millions of dollars to be given to those polytechs to support them, to support Māori midwifery students. I believe, for me, that they are rewarding them for bad behaviour. If they cannot support them, Māori women, through a course, then their failure is that they should not be given millions of dollars to attempt another try at supporting the workforce.
can I ask, in terms of tikanga Māori and a te ao Māori view of bringing baby into this world, te ao,
Yep.
te ao huri huri,
Yeah.
what is in place in all of these institutions currently?
Nothing. So that's why myself and my friend, Janie Thomas, who are doing our doctorates, have put a business plan and a proposal to Te Whare Wānanga Awanuiarangi for kaupapa Māori midwifery school, and to be able to support our Māori women who choose the area of midwifery to become midwives. I believe that will be a way of filling the gap and to provide a safe kaupapa Māori model of care so that midwives, and particularly Māori midwives, will have the knowledge to do that. If we look at Heather Simpson's Health and Disability Review report that came out earlier this year, she believes that mātauranga Māori, kaupapa Māori, must be embedded in maternity services throughout the 21 DHBs, and without that insight into Māori needs, which for us is normal, many of those DHBs consider our needs as alternative, therefore they don't fund them, they see them as an alternative way of caring for those people, and so we are seen as the other people, whereas we have a right under the Article 2 of the Tiriti to care for our taonga, which is our pepe, our ways of knowing that we know, which is normal for us and not alternative for them. It is our normal.
I'm just going to ask two more questions. I'll try and do these really quickly. Just flowing on from the training in the institutions, what about when they come out as midwives? What professional development is followed up in terms of cultural competency and working with Māori and Māori pepe?
So Ngā Maia Māori midwives have developed a kaupapa Māori tūranga kaupapa cultural safety program, which I present to the 5 midwifery schools and teach the students. We then provide it as a ongoing professional development for midwives in general. The New Zealand Midwifery Council chose not to make it compulsory. Therefore, midwives entering this country do not have to do a cultural safety program and do not have to engage in tūranga kaupapa, and do not, if they choose not to, do not have to have cultural safety as part of their professional development.
Ms Cassidy?
Yes, sir. I'll end
Ms
it
TeHuia's,
there, sir.
sorry.
Yes.
We're actually going into some of
Yes.
the kaupapa on the next brief.
Okay.
So some of these matters are actually coming up in our next session. So
Okay.
we'll perhaps...
Sorry to keep you.
No, it's all good. But I'm supposed to be the conductor of the train on the timetable. So we'll break for 20 minutes and come back at 11. Kia ora.
Thank you. Thank you very much.